Aging isn't simply about adding years to our lives, it's about viewing the world through a lens shaped by resilience, wisdom, and the countless stories we carry within us. As we step into our later chapters, we often find ourselves confronting beliefs we once held tightly in our youth. But here's what matters most: recognizing these shifts isn't a loss, it's a form of strength. In today's video, we'll walk through 7 powerful life lessons that can help you age with confidence, clarity, and purpose. These lessons aren't abstract ideas, they're grounded in lived experiences and guided by expert insight. You'll hear reflections from people like Eleanor, who learned to draw boundaries that protected her peace, and James, who freed himself from years of emotional manipulation, even from those closest to him. We'll talk about what it really means to let go, not just of past regrets, but of societal expectations that no longer serve us. You'll discover how to reclaim your voice, nurture genuine happiness, and build emotional freedom in your golden years. This isn't just another feel-good message, it's a roadmap for living fully, on your terms. If you've ever felt unseen, taken for granted, or simply unsure how to move forward, this video is for you. Stick with me until the end, you may just walk away with a renewed sense of purpose and a fresh perspective that shifts everything. If you're new here, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you never miss out on topics that matter. And if this message speaks to you, a like or share can help someone else hear it too. Leave a comment, press 1 if this resonates, or 0 if there's something else you'd like us to explore. Now, let's begin this journey toward a wiser, stronger, more empowered you. Tip number 1, don't place blind trust in everyone who enters your life. As we grow older, advice that once seemed simple begins to carry heavier meaning. Take, for instance, the idea of trust. In our youth, we often trusted easily, believing most people had good intentions. But with age comes a new layer of complexity. Loneliness, an unwelcome visitor, sometimes slips into the quiet corners of our lives, making us yearn more deeply for connection, for relationships that feel warm, genuine, and understanding. Yet ironically, it's this very longing that can make us vulnerable. People like Helen, a 67-year-old widow, shared how a new friend appeared during one of the lowest points in her life. He offered support, always called when she sounded down, but disappeared when she began to find her footing. It took her a while to realize he wasn't drawn to her joy, only to her pain. And she's not alone in that experience. As we age, many of us become more compassionate, more inclined to forgive, and more eager to see the good in others. These are admirable qualities, but they can also make us easy targets. Some individuals, knowingly or not, learn how to manipulate that kindness. They sense when someone is emotionally available, and they step in, not to build a genuine bond, but to serve their own needs. Perhaps you've met someone like Raymond, a cousin who suddenly starts calling when bills pile up. Or maybe there's Lisa, a neighbor who talks endlessly about her problems but never once asks how you are doing. What about Debbie, an old friend who always seems to need a favor, yet is somehow always too busy when you need help? These one-sided connections drain more than just time. Over months or years, they chip away at your self-worth. They leave you questioning your own value, wondering if your kindness is being mistaken for weakness. But let's be clear, this isn't about building walls or closing yourself off from others. It's about developing a wiser form of connection. The kind where you can still open your heart, but with discernment. Where your empathy is matched with emotional intelligence. It's about setting boundaries, not out of bitterness, but from a place of self-respect. Learning to say no is not selfish, it's self-care. True friends, the kind who genuinely care, will never make you feel guilty for protecting your energy. They won't appear only when they need something, nor will they vanish when you're doing well. Real connection thrives on mutual respect, not obligation. As Margaret, a retired teacher, once said, "In my 70s, I finally learned that I'm not here to fix everyone's problems. I'm here to live in peace, surrounded by people who bring light, not those who dim it." So, take a moment and reflect. Who lifts you up? Who drains you? Who respects your time and listens when you speak? not just when they need a favor. In these later years, time becomes more precious. You owe it to yourself to invest in relationships that nourish your soul, not ones that quietly deplete it. Trust is a beautiful thing. But it's not something you owe to everyone, it's something to be earned. Look beyond sweet words, watch for consistent actions. Guard your peace like the treasure it is, because at this stage of life, your emotional well-being is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Choose wisely. Trust thoughtfully. And most of all, honor yourself. Tip number 2, stop living to please others, even your family. It's not an easy truth to face. In fact, it can feel downright uncomfortable, maybe even painful, to say out loud. But here it is, many of us have spent most of our lives living for everyone else. Our children, our spouses, our grandchildren, we've made their needs and dreams our top priority, believing that self-sacrifice was the highest form of love. But at what cost? When you were younger, you probably told yourself, one day, when the kids are grown, when the work slows down, when life calms a bit, then I'll finally make time for myself. Maybe you imagine traveling, taking up a hobby, or simply waking up without a long list of obligations. But here you are, older, maybe retired, yet still pulled in all directions. You're still the one they turn to when things get tough. Still the one expected to be available. Still the one asked to give, and give, and give. And the weight of these expectations, it doesn't fade. It gets heavier. It becomes like a rope tied around your freedom, subtle but tight. Take a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you put your plans on hold because someone else needed something? How often have you dipped into your savings to help out a struggling child or grandchild, while quietly ignoring your own financial needs? How many times have you canceled rest, skipped a class you wanted to try, or abandoned something that made you happy, because someone just assumed you would? The truth is, people often don't mean harm. Your family may love you deeply. But over time, they've come to expect your help, not out of selfishness, but out of habit. You've always been the one who steps up, so they assume you always will. And without even realizing it, they keep leaning. Keep asking. Keep taking. And you, out of love, out of loyalty, keep giving. But who is looking out for you? When was the last time someone really asked you what you wanted, not just in passing, but with genuine interest? When was the last time you made a decision entirely for yourself, without guilt or second-guessing? If you've ever felt a quiet ache in your chest, a whisper of, "Is this really all there is?" You are not alone. After decades of serving others, it's only natural to wonder, when is it my turn? The answer is, now. This phase of life, your 60s, 70s, even 80s, should not be another chapter of endless giving with little in return. It should be your time to reclaim your identity. To revisit dreams long shelved. To explore passions you once set aside. To finally put yourself first, without apology. Maybe you've always wanted to paint, learn the guitar, or explore the country in an RV. Maybe you dream of starting a garden, joining a book club, or simply enjoying a slow, peaceful morning without anyone else's demands. Whatever it is, it's yours. And it's not selfish to want it. It's healthy. It's overdue. This is about self-respect, not selfishness. You've poured so much of yourself into others. Now it's time to pour into you. If the people around you truly love you, and many of them do, they will understand. They will adapt. And if some struggle to accept the change, that's something they'll need to work through themselves. You have already given more than enough. Take Judith, for example. She's 72. She spent her entire adult life raising 3 kids, supporting her husband's business, and later stepping in to help with the grandkids. She did it all, without complaint. But around her 70th birthday, she realized she felt empty, like she was fading from her own story. So Judith made a bold choice. She joined a hiking club. Took up watercolor painting. Booked a solo trip to Maine, something she'd wanted to do for over 30 years. At first, her family was shocked, even hurt. "Mom, you've changed," they said. And she had. For the first time, she wasn't living for them. She was living for herself. Now, Judith wakes up with excitement. Her calendar is filled with things she enjoys. Her energy has returned. And most importantly, her peace. So let this be your permission slip. You have carried the weight of obligation for decades, an entire lifetime for some. It's time to set it down. Not out of anger. Not from resentment. But from liberation. This next chapter isn't about proving your love. You've already done that. It's about finally giving yourself the care, time, and freedom you've long deserved. Do this for you. Not for your children. Not for your grandchildren. Not because you should. But because you can. Because you've earned it. And most of all, because it's time. Tip number 3, don't be afraid to distance yourself from toxic people. For many of us, family is more than just a word. It's the cornerstone of identity, tradition, and comfort, a foundation on which we've built entire lives. From a young age, we're taught that family ties should be honored at all costs. We learn that forgiveness is noble, and that enduring pain in silence is somehow a virtue when it comes to those closest to us. But as life unfolds, we come to realize something more complex. Even the people we love most can sometimes be the ones who hurt us the deepest. And when that happens, we're faced with one of the most painful questions of all: do we remain in these relationships out of duty, or do we choose to protect our own emotional and mental well-being? This is not a choice made lightly. The guilt, the weight of cultural expectations, and years, sometimes decades, of ingrained patterns make the idea of stepping back feel almost impossible. Especially when you've spent a lifetime hoping that things would get better. In our youth, we tend to believe there's time to mend broken ties. But with age comes the sobering realization that time is not infinite. And every day spent in the company of people who diminish us is a day we don't get back. Think about it. How often have you endured sharp words, controlling behavior, or subtle manipulation, just because it came from a family member? How many times have you told yourself, this is just how they are, or, it's not worth the fight? Society tells us that family is everything. That love is unconditional. That we must forgive endlessly and overlook mistreatment in the name of loyalty. But let's be honest, there's nothing unconditional about allowing someone, anyone, to damage your spirit. Imagine this: a son who constantly invalidates your feelings. A granddaughter who only checks in when she needs a loan. A sibling who rehashes your past mistakes every time they want to make a point. Or a spouse who no longer treats you with kindness or consideration. These aren't rare scenarios. They're real, and they're painful. And too many of us suffer quietly, convinced that it's our duty to endure. But ask yourself this: if a friend or neighbor treated you the same way, would you accept it? If someone outside your family belittled, manipulated, or used you, would you allow it? If the answer is no, then why make an exception just because it's family? One of the greatest acts of love you can show yourself is recognizing when a relationship, no matter how long-standing or deeply rooted, has become toxic. Aging should not mean accepting mistreatment to keep the peace. It should be a time of healing, reflection, and serenity. Relationships in this season of life should bring joy, not dread. Support, not stress. Visualize a life where your mornings are free from anxiety. Where your phone ringing doesn't spark tension. Where the people in your life lift you up, not drag you down. Where you feel respected and valued, not out of obligation, but because of who you are. Setting boundaries isn't harsh, it's healing. And those who genuinely love you will honor those limits. They'll adjust, because your peace matters to them. And those who don't, they were never truly invested in your well-being to begin with. Take Gloria, for example. She's 68 and spent most of her adult life navigating the emotional roller coaster of a demanding sibling. The guilt trips, the constant criticism, the passive-aggressive jabs, it all wore her down. One day, after yet another phone call that left her feeling small and defeated, she decided enough was enough. She didn't cut her sister out, but she created space. She stopped picking up every call. She limited their visits. She started saying no, and with time, she reclaimed her peace. As clinical psychologist Dr. Henry Cloud wisely puts it, you get what you tolerate. Boundaries aren't about trying to change others. They're about clearly defining what you will and will not accept. They're about preserving your inner peace, your dignity, and your emotional energy. This doesn't mean you have to sever every difficult relationship. But it does mean being honest with yourself about which connections feed your soul, and which ones quietly deplete it. Choosing yourself doesn't make you disloyal. It makes you brave. Your happiness, your peace, your sense of worth, they're not selfish luxuries. They are basic human needs. And if protecting them means creating space between you and someone who continues to cause harm, then that's not weakness. That's strength. So take a deep breath. Let go of the old belief that love always means sacrifice, or that family loyalty must come at the expense of your well-being. You've spent a lifetime giving. Now it's time to make space for receiving love, respect, and joy from those who truly value you. You deserve that. You always have. And if this message speaks to your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Comment yes below if this resonates. Your voice matters, and your story might just give someone else the courage to choose peace, too. Tip number 4, stop waiting for others to acknowledge your sacrifices. Have you ever taken a quiet moment to reflect on just how many times you put someone else's needs ahead of your own? The years you dedicated to your children, your spouse, your aging parents, or even close friends, always prioritizing their happiness before your own. Think back to the dreams you quietly placed on hold, the passions you never pursued, the restful days you gave up, all with the silent hope that one day, someone would look into your eyes and say, "Thank you. I see you. I understand everything you've done for me." That thought is comforting, the belief that recognition will arrive, that your sacrifices will finally be acknowledged with sincerity and gratitude. But here's a truth that many of us struggle to accept, especially as we grow older: life doesn't always provide that moment. That long-awaited thank you, that warm acknowledgement you've hoped for, it may never come. Take Linda, for instance. She spent years caring for her husband through illness, helping raise her grandchildren, managing her household with quiet devotion. She often imagined the day her grown children might sit beside her, thank her for the sacrifices, and express deep appreciation. But that moment never arrived. The kids were busy, distracted, caught up in their own lives. The gratitude remained unspoken. And the silence that followed? It left a mark. Perhaps you've had those late nights too, replaying years of selfless acts, small and large, hoping for even a word of acknowledgement. Maybe you've caught yourself wondering, did it matter? Did they even notice? That yearning, that aching desire to be seen, can quietly grow over time. When we depend on others to validate our efforts, we unknowingly tie our happiness to their recognition. And when it doesn't come, the result can be quietly devastating. First comes disappointment. Then, often, something heavier, resentment. You may begin to revisit the past with different eyes, questioning whether your sacrifices were worth it. Where there was once fulfillment, you might now feel invisible. And resentment, though silent, can wedge itself into your relationships, building emotional distance where love once lived. Worst of all, it may lead you to doubt your own generosity, as though giving without thanks somehow diminishes the value of what you gave. But here's the truth you must hold on to: the value of your sacrifices does not depend on whether or not someone thanks you. The love you poured into others, the times you stayed up late, worked harder, showed up, forgave, those moments are reflections of your character, not anyone else's. They are evidence of your compassion, your strength, your resilience. They show the depth of your heart, your unwavering spirit, and that, in itself, is something to be deeply proud of. You don't need a round of applause to validate your kindness. True peace, lasting peace, comes from within. It comes from honoring yourself, recognizing your own worth, and accepting that your sacrifices were meaningful regardless of whether anyone ever says so. Imagine the freedom in knowing your happiness no longer depends on someone else's approval. That you can let go of the weight, release the expectation, and begin living for you. This isn't about forgetting the past or dismissing the love you gave. It's about embracing your life now, on your own terms, without needing anyone else to define your worth. As we grow older, time becomes more precious. Every day is a gift. So ask yourself, do you really want to spend this time waiting for validation that may never come? Instead, give yourself that recognition. Celebrate your resilience. Reclaim the joy that comes from knowing you lived with love, integrity, and intention. Letting go of the need for recognition is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can offer yourself. It doesn't mean your efforts went unnoticed by the universe, it means they were so pure, so sincere, they didn't need an audience. So as you continue on this journey, remind yourself, your worth was never tied to anyone's gratitude. It's in your quiet strength. Your generous heart. Your unwavering love, even when no one was watching. Letting go of resentment isn't forgetting. It's choosing peace. And peace, after all you've given, is something you've earned. If this message resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. And remember, you are seen, you are valued, and you are enough. Always. Tip number 5, stop using your age as an excuse not to change. This truth might feel uncomfortable at first, maybe even a little unsettling. But often, when something stirs that kind of discomfort, it's because it's touching on something important. Something real. How many times have you brushed off a new opportunity, an exciting idea, or a fresh start by saying, "I'm too old for that"? Maybe it was a hobby you never pursued, a habit you never broke, or a mindset you never challenged. Maybe it was the chance to open your heart again, to love, to grow, to explore something new. And each time, the reason felt simple and safe, it's just too late now. But here's the honest truth, as long as you are alive, it is never too late to change. That realization isn't restrictive, it's liberating. It means that no matter how many years have passed, you still have the power to shift, to grow, and to embrace life in ways that bring new purpose and meaning. Too often, society tells us that after a certain age, our time for growth is over. That we should slow down, settle in, and stop reaching. It's a myth, a persistent one, that quietly convinces us to shrink ourselves into a version of life that may feel safe, but is ultimately unfulfilling. And when we believe that myth, we settle. We stop chasing our dreams. We convince ourselves that certain passions, adventures, or love stories belong to younger people. Not because we aren't capable, but because we've bought into the belief that they're no longer meant for us. Think back. How many times have you wished you had learned the piano, written that novel, painted that canvas, or traveled to that distant place you've dreamed of for years? How many friendships, passions, or even relationships did you let go, not because they were wrong, but because you told yourself, "It's too late for me"? The truth is, the regret of never trying is often far heavier than the discomfort of starting something new. What most people don't realize is that age is not a disadvantage, it's an asset. With every passing year, you've gained more wisdom, more resilience, more clarity about who you are and what matters most. You've navigated hardships, celebrated victories, and built a reservoir of strength that younger generations are still in the process of developing. That's a powerful foundation. A unique advantage. The only real obstacle is the belief that your time has passed. But here's the thing, that belief, no matter how deeply rooted, is not fact. It's a story, a narrative you've been told or told yourself. And stories can be rewritten. Instead of seeing your age as a limit, try seeing it as a launch pad. Let the lessons of your past become stepping stones towards something bold and exciting. Change may be uncomfortable, but it's not unfamiliar. Think about it, you've navigated childhood, adulthood, parenthood, career shifts, retirement, and every transition came with its own challenges. But you adjusted. You grew. You overcame. Why should this next chapter be any different? What if you chose to make it just as full of discovery? Just as alive? Imagine the life you could create if you believed that your age wasn't a barrier but a strength. You could finally book that trip, start that business, take that class, deepen your connections, or rekindle an old dream. And at this point in your life, the beauty is, you're doing it not to prove anything to anyone. Not to gain approval. But simply because you want to. Take Walter, for example. He's 68, retired, and had resigned himself to a quiet, predictable routine. One day, while cleaning out his garage, he stumbled across an old sketchpad from his college years. He hadn't drawn in decades. He almost tossed it aside, thinking, that part of my life is over. But something made him pause. Instead of walking away, Walter bought a new set of pencils. He started sketching again, just for fun. That small step led him to sign up for a local art class, where he met new friends. A year later, at 72, he sold his first painting. More importantly, he felt alive again. Creative. Energized. He realized the only thing holding him back had been a belief, a simple thought that it was too late. The moment he let that go, his life opened up to possibility. Your years aren't a countdown. They're a collection of experience, insight, and potential. The human spirit doesn't expire. It doesn't retire. It's boundless, and capable of transformation, at any stage of life. So stop seeing age as a finish line. Start seeing it as a beginning. Let go of the myth that you've missed your chance. Replace it with the truth, every moment you're here is a chance. A chance to learn. To grow. To surprise yourself. To live on your terms. You're not done. You're not too late. You're right on time for whatever comes next. This isn't the end of your story, it's the start of an incredible new chapter. Tip number 6, don't cling to the past as if it were your only refuge. As we move through life, nostalgia often walks beside us, softly, lovingly, wrapping us in the warmth of cherished memories. We remember the laughter shared with old friends, the spark of young love, the passion we once poured into dreams pursued with limitless energy. These moments, golden and vivid, can feel more alive than the present, almost as if they are calling us home to a time when life felt fuller, more exciting, more meaningful. And it's easy, so easy, to lose ourselves in those memories. As we grow older, they offer comfort, familiarity, and reassurance. They remind us of who we were, what we've experienced, and how deeply we've lived. Reflecting on the past, in moderation, can be healing. It honors our story. It gives us perspective. But there's a delicate line we must not cross. Because when we begin to spend more time in the past than with the present, we risk becoming prisoners of our own memories. No matter how beautiful or powerful those moments were, they were never meant to define our entire existence. When we hold too tightly to what was, we slowly begin to disconnect from what is, from the life still unfolding in front of us. Have you ever found yourself saying, "Back in my day, things were so much better," or, "If only I could go back to when I was truly happy"? Those thoughts, while comforting in the moment, can plant seeds of sadness. They create the illusion that your best years are already behind you, and that nothing ahead could possibly compare. Slowly, they rob the present of its worth. They can quietly convince you that joy, adventure, and love are no longer yours to experience. That's the true danger of clinging too tightly to the past. It blinds us to the beauty that still remains. The present may not have the same energy as your youth, but it is real. It is yours. And it is filled with potential. Each time you choose to live in the memory of yesterday rather than the opportunity of today, you let another moment slip by, one that could have been filled with laughter, discovery, or connection. Time is precious. Life is finite. And every minute spent longing for the past is a minute that could have been used to create something new, something meaningful, something uniquely suited to who you are now. Life moves in seasons. Each one with its own rhythm, its own blessings, its own purpose. The past helped shape you, it molded your heart, sharpened your wisdom, deepened your understanding. But it does not hold the entirety of who you are. It is only a chapter in a much larger story. This, right now, this is a new season. One with its own possibilities. One that invites you to live not as who you once were, but as who you are today, with all your hard-earned insight, your quiet strength, and your capacity to love and grow in ways you never imagined before. You are not just your memories. You are your choices. Your voice. Your dreams, yes, the ones that still whisper quietly in your heart. You are the kindness you give, the moments you savor, the life you choose to live moving forward. Take Elaine, for example. At 71, she found herself often reminiscing about the years she spent teaching, the energy of her classroom, the connection with students. She clung to those memories like a lifeline, convinced that the best part of her life was already behind her. But one afternoon, while reading to her grandchild, she felt something stir, a spark. That night, she signed up to volunteer at a local literacy program. Within weeks, she had found a new rhythm, a new community, and a new sense of purpose. Her joy didn't come from returning to her past, it came from bringing what she loved into the present. That's what's possible when we let go of the belief that the past is the only place where life made sense. Nostalgia is beautiful, but it is a place to visit, not to live. The past is part of you, but it is not the whole of you. Let it be a gentle reminder, not a heavy chain. Open your heart to the idea that life still has remarkable moments in store, people you have yet to meet, places you have yet to see, and joys you have yet to discover. Yes, the future is uncertain. But so was every chapter you've already lived, and look at the richness they brought you. The courage it took. The growth they sparked. To live fully now is to open your arms to today. To release the belief that your story peaked long ago and trust that it is still unfolding in beautiful, surprising ways. Let the memories you've made be the foundation, not the finish line. Treasure them, yes, but don't let them hold you back from creating new ones. Life is still happening. And it's calling you to participate. Don't just stand at the window, looking back. Step outside. Step forward. And embrace it. Tip number 7, avoid turning daily self-pleasure into a habitual escape. Masturbation, when approached with mindfulness and moderation, is a natural and healthy part of self-care. For many, it offers real benefits, reducing stress, helping with sleep, and promoting emotional well-being. Scientific research supports this. Studies, including one published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2016, have shown that regular sexual activity, including self-pleasure, can improve both mental and physical health, even well into our later years. The release of endorphins, those natural, feel-good chemicals, can elevate mood and contribute to a sense of well-being. But what happens when this becomes more than just an occasional act, when it turns into a daily habit, or worse, a form of emotional dependence? For some, frequent self-pleasure stops being about enjoyment and becomes a means of escape, an unconscious response to loneliness, anxiety, boredom, or the emptiness that can sometimes come with big life transitions like retirement or the loss of a partner. Over time, what once brought temporary relief can start to sap your energy, dull your motivation, and even isolate you from richer, more meaningful forms of connection. The key question to ask yourself is this: are you truly fulfilled, or simply distracted? When a single habit becomes the go-to source of comfort, it can begin to replace deeper, more lasting joys. Activities that once brought purpose, conversation, creativity, movement, exploration, can quietly slip away. But there's good news: it's never too late to broaden the sources of satisfaction in your life. Take a slow morning walk and let nature soothe your spirit. Studies have shown that spending time outdoors can reduce stress and lift mood. Pick up a hobby that stimulates your mind or sparks curiosity, like painting, learning music, gardening, or tackling a new language. Reconnect with old friends or engage in conversations that bring laughter, insight, or simply human warmth. These moments aren't just distractions, they're meaningful investments in your well-being. And this message isn't about shame or guilt. It's about balance. By gently stepping back from a habit that's become too routine, you open space to rediscover a fuller spectrum of pleasure and purpose. You might find that other forms of joy become more vivid and satisfying, moments of laughter, companionship, personal growth, or inner calm. These later years in life aren't meant to be lived in repetition. They're meant to expand your world, not narrow it. When you embrace moderation, you create room for deeper experiences and stronger emotional connections. You tap into the richness of life itself, not just in fleeting moments, but in the peace that comes from living intentionally. Pleasure, after all, isn't just about a single act, it's about the overall quality of your days. As we close this chapter together, I invite you to reflect. What spoke to you most today? Was there a shift in perspective or a gentle reminder that truly resonated? Pause and take it in, because reflection is powerful, but action is where change begins. Share your thoughts below, I'd love to hear from you. And if this video added meaning to your day, please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue exploring this journey toward balance, purpose, and joyful living. Thank you for being here. Thank you for thinking deeply. Until next time, take care of yourself, and embrace each moment ahead with intention and heart.